What's up, everybody? I'm attorney Sam Amin, and today I wanted to discuss the criminal complaint that was filed by the state of Minnesota against the killer cop that took away George Floyd's life. And I've attached a complaint so you can see exactly what the district attorney's office has alleged. And as you can see, the first count is or rather, murder in the third degree, which is the killing of another person without premeditation. The second count is manslaughter, which is the killing or negligent killing of another person. If you take a look at the second page, specifically the probable cause page, you can see that they list out about 10 paragraphs of what transpired, what they've witnessed through the body-worn camera footage. For those who don't know, the body-worn cameras are those cameras that are inserted in the middle of the vest by any given police officer during an incident or a traffic stop or an arrest. So in this incident, the body-worn camera footage captured what the probable cause statement is alluding to. And you can see here some of the pertinent information that I thought was relevant was, for example, the length by which they had Mr. Floyd restrained, which was almost a total of 8 minutes and 46 seconds. 2 minutes and 53 seconds of which was after Mr. Floyd was non-responsive. So you can imagine, for 8 minutes and 46 seconds in total, when you have someone such as the killer officer place his knee on George's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds in total. 2 minutes and 53 seconds of which was after Mr. Floyd was non-responsive. And we all saw that the viral video when Mr. Floyd was pleading with the officer, I can't breathe, it hurts, my neck hurts, my back hurts, my stomach hurts. At which point, or at some point, he starts bleeding from his nose, and the other bystanders are telling the officer, get off of him, you're killing him, he can't breathe, get off of him. He continues to disregard what everyone is telling him and what he can hear from George Floyd, and he continues to callously place his knee on his neck. And you can tell it was so casual for the killer officer because he had his hands in his pocket as he was casually placing his knee against George's neck. Now, another interesting piece of information that is referenced in the statement of probable cause by the district attorney's office is the autopsy report. Now, for those who don't know, autopsy reports are generally created by the sheriff's department, and in this case, the report does not mention, or rather explicitly alludes to the fact that George Floyd was not killed by strangulation. Rather, and I quote, the combined effects of Mr. Floyd being restrained by the police, his underlying health condition, and any potential intoxicants in his system likely contributed to his death. Why do I have a problem with this statement right here? Well, it's already trying to set the stage for what I think is going to be total exoneration for the killer cop. It's cutting off what we call as causation. They're saying he did not die at the scene. Rather, he died when he was later transported to the hospital. And they go on to say, the autopsy revealed no physical finding that supports a diagnosis of traumatic strangulation, and that Mr. Floyd's underlying health condition of coronary artery disease and hypertension, heart disease, may have resulted in his ultimate demise. They do mention that the restraint by the police is one of the factors, but they don't say it's the only factor. And that's where I have a problem, because a lot of Americans, a lot of people have hypertension. If I place my knee on someone's neck for 8 minutes, 8.5 minutes, or whatever, and I don't kill this person, but I cause this person to go into hypertension or some form of excitement where I would have to put this person in a hospital, but that person later dies, I can't back out of it and say, I didn't kill him. Well, sure, maybe I didn't kill him at the scene, but I'm the reason why he's in the hospital and ultimately the cause of why he is dead. So that's where I have a problem with that. They're confusing the issue here. They're saying there's a lot of factors, and it could have been the strangulation, or rather, I apologize, it could have been the restraint by the officer, it could have been the heart condition, it could have been the hypertension that have resulted in his ultimate demise. Now, the other interesting factor here is, according to the body-worn camera, that there were multiple officers, and one of the officer had expressed to the killer cop that he was worried about what's known as delirium whatever. And then I quote this on page 2. Now, what he's referring to is what a lot of critics have questioned as a made-up term, which basically means, in plain English, when someone is under distress, they can amass this power where they can overcome the assailant. In this specific example, they were worried about George Floyd becoming enraged and overtaking the officers, which is ludicrous to say the least. There were 4 of them. There's George Floyd face down, pinned down, cuffed, can't breathe, with a medical with a medical condition, and there's no way on earth they could have been worried about their own safety. And at some point, the killer officer says, and I quote, "That's why we have him on his stomach." And at some point, after he becomes non-responsive, the ambulance comes and picks up George Floyd, and he's pronounced dead at the hospital. Here's my problem with this complaint, and I've said this in my earlier video, which why I think he should have been charged with a first-degree murder. And I understand my colleagues, I understand a lot of people have told me this is very hard to prove, etc. And I'll explain in plain English why I think there is premeditation or a form of intent for the killing. And although there is some anecdotes about the killer officer and George Floyd that mentions the two used to work together as bouncers at a bar, and they may have had some form of history or bad blood in between them, I don't know. But one thing I do want to clarify is premeditation requires that the defendant think out the act. No matter how quickly, it can be as simple as picking up a hammer that's lying nearby to effectuate the killing. So, do I think the officer wanted, or the killer officer wanted to take away George Floyd's life immediately? I don't think so. I think initially, the report says, and the body-worn camera supposedly says, they were trying to take George Floyd into the back of the patrol vehicle, at which point George Floyd stiffened up his body and fell to the ground, and some form of a scuffle ensued, and the officer decided to place his knee on George Floyd's neck and pin him down along with 3 other officers. Now, once you have somebody restrained, no training manual, and I've spoken to a couple of cops and a couple of colleagues in law enforcement have told me that there is no training manual that will tell a police officer to essentially suffocate somebody for 8.5 minutes. And the last 2 minutes and 45 seconds of which he was non-responsive. So what's the point? If somebody is pinned down, face down, cuffed, and you have 3 other officers that are on top of him, along with your knee, preventing his breathing. And you hear him saying, "I can't breathe, it hurts." Multiple times. "My neck hurts, my body hurts, everything hurts." He says, "Mama, please." Random bystanders that don't even know what's going on decide to stop because they hear him pleading for his life, and they tell him, "Get off of him, you're killing him. He's bleeding from his nose." And he notices his body is emotionless for 2.5 minutes, but he continues to apply pressure with his knee, casually, with his hands in his pocket. Doesn't give one damn. I think during the process of the scuffle, if you want to call it a scuffle, I don't think there was any resisting, but during the process of 8.5 minutes, or whatever the exact time is, I think he intended. I think there was premeditation. It shows through his actions. At that point, it's not that I don't care about someone's life. I actually want to take it. Remember, premeditation does not require long period of time to think out or to plan out. It could be very quickly, and it can be as simple as few seconds of me deciding, "Hey, I want to take away this person's life." And I do it. And actions speak louder than words. We've all heard what George Floyd said. We all heard what the bystander said. And we saw the officer's actions were after George Floyd's body became motionless. So that's what I have to say. And you can read the complaint I've attached in the post below. If you like what I have to say, please comment, share. If you have any specific questions, I try to answer most of my DMs. And with that being said, again, I'm attorney Haitham Amin, and thank you for listening. Being the only person that's advocating in the courtroom on behalf of the accused is a humbling feeling for me. I believe in the tenets of the Constitution, which is innocent until proven guilty, and that carries from day one until the trial date.